Imagine a pharaoh whose name echoes through the ages, a ruler so powerful that his monuments still tower over the Egyptian desert, his legacy shaping the world long after his death. Meet Ramses II, the great pharaoh of Egypt, whose 67-year reign transformed Egypt into a superpower and set the standard for what it means to be immortalized in history. From legendary battles to awe-inspiring temples, join us as we unravel the untold story of the man who became a god in the eyes of his people. This is the story of Ramses the Great, where power, glory, and divine rule intertwine. Ramses II, often referred to as Ramses the Great, stands as one of the most influential figures in the history of ancient Egypt. His reign, which spanned 67 years from 1279 to 1213 BCE, marks one of the longest and most prosperous periods in Egyptian history. A powerful and charismatic ruler, Ramses II solidified his place in history, not only for his military exploits and diplomatic achievements, but also for his monumental building projects that left a lasting legacy on the Egyptian landscape. His reign is widely regarded as the pinnacle of Egypt's new kingdom, a time when the empire reached its zenith in both military prowess and cultural achievement. Through his military campaigns, particularly against the Hittites, and his construction of some of Egypt's most iconic monuments, Ramses II was immortalized as the archetype of the powerful and divine ruler. Ramses II was born in 1303 BCE to Seti I, a formidable pharaoh, and Queen Tuya, a member of the royal family. Growing up in the royal court, Ramses was steeped in the traditions, politics, and military strategies of Egypt's ruling elite. His family lineage was distinguished, with his father Seti I having restored much of Egypt's power and influence during his reign. As the son of Seti I, Ramses was heir to a well-established dynasty, and from an early age, it was clear that he would inherit not only the throne, but also the responsibilities of maintaining Egypt's dominance in the ancient world. Ramses's lineage linked him to some of the most revered pharaohs in Egyptian history, placing him in a line of rulers who had expanded Egypt's influence across the ancient Near East. The significance of his heritage was not lost on the young prince, and it would play a crucial role in his future aspirations and achievements as a king. Raised with the knowledge that he was to carry forward the legacy of his ancestors, Ramses was prepared to lead Egypt into a new era of prosperity. As the heir apparent, Ramses received an education that was tailored to the rigorous demands of leadership. His education focused on military strategy, diplomacy, religious traditions, and the arts of governance. Ramses was trained in the royal military, where he quickly earned a reputation for his martial skills and strategic thinking. His training also included learning the art of chariot warfare, a key component of Egyptian military strength at the time. Ramses became adept at commanding armies, leading soldiers in battle, and understanding the complexities of both offensive and defensive warfare. In addition to military training, Ramses was taught the administrative skills necessary to govern an empire as vast as Egypt. He was groomed to handle the delicate balance of maintaining power, managing state affairs, and upholding the divine rule that was central to the role of pharaoh. It is said that Ramses even participated in military campaigns during his father's reign, likely gaining first-hand experience of leadership in battle and the intricacies of diplomacy. This early exposure to the realities of power and conflict prepared him for the monumental challenges he would face once he ascended to the throne. Upon the death of his father, Seti I, in 1279 BCE, Ramses ascended to the throne at the age of 25. His immediate assumption of power marked the beginning of a new era for Egypt, one in which the pharaoh would assert his dominance both in military conquests and political alliances. The political climate of Egypt at the time was one of both opportunity and challenge. Egypt was recovering from a period of turbulence, and Ramses was tasked with strengthening the kingdom's borders, securing its trade routes, and preserving the stability that his father had worked hard to establish. The early years of Ramses' reign saw him face immediate threats from both internal and external forces. Egypt's traditional rivals, including the Hittites in the north and various Libyan and Nubian tribes to the west and south, presented constant challenges. However, Ramses was determined to assert Egypt's superiority in these regions, and he began his reign with bold military campaigns aimed at securing Egypt's borders and restoring its influence in the ancient world. One of the most famous military engagements of Ramses II's reign was the Battle of Kadesh, fought around 1274 BCE against the Hittite Empire. This battle, one of the largest chariot battles in history, marked a defining moment in Ramses' military career and had significant consequences for the political landscape of the ancient Near East. Kadesh, located on the Orontes River in modern-day Syria, was strategically important and was the site where Ramses II, at the head of his Egyptian forces, clashed with the Hittites, led by King Muwatalli II. Ramses II's portrayal of the battle, especially in his temples and monuments, would have lasting effects on how history remembered this confrontation. The battle itself was not a decisive Egyptian victory, as Ramses' forces were temporarily caught off guard and surrounded by the Hittite forces. However, Ramses' personal bravery and leadership in rallying his troops and eventually forcing the Hittites to retreat allowed him to claim a symbolic victory. The battle ended in a stalemate, but Ramses depicted it as a great triumph for Egypt, emphasizing his heroic efforts in securing the Egyptian empire's borders. Ramses's campaigns in Nubia, to the south of Egypt in modern-day Sudan, were primarily focused on securing Egypt's southern borders and asserting control over the rich Nubian territories. The Egyptian military faced fierce resistance from the local Nubian tribes, but Ramses' forces were ultimately successful in bringing the region under Egyptian influence. Ramses constructed several fortresses and monuments in Nubia to commemorate these victories and demonstrate Egypt's dominance over the region. His military actions in Nubia helped secure Egypt's access to valuable resources, including gold, which was crucial for the wealth of the kingdom. To the west, Ramses II also conducted military campaigns to quell incursions from Libyan tribes that frequently threatened Egypt's border. The Libyan tribes, known for their raiding and nomadic lifestyles, posed a constant threat to Egyptian stability. Ramses's military expeditions into Libya were marked by decisive victories that pushed back the Libyan forces and secured Egypt's western border. In doing so, Ramses bolstered his reputation as a warrior king, showcasing his ability to maintain control over Egypt's vast borders and protect the kingdom from external threats. Following the Battle of Kadesh, Ramses II and King Muwatalli II of the Hittites reached a historic agreement that would change the course of ancient diplomacy. After years of conflict and intermittent warfare between the two empires, Ramses negotiated a peace treaty with the Hittites, which became one of the earliest known peace agreements in recorded history. The treaty, signed around 1258 BCE, was not only a diplomatic triumph for Ramses, but also a strategic move that allowed both powers to focus on other matters, including internal stability and dealing with other external threats. The treaty, known as the Treaty of Kadesh, was remarkably progressive for its time. It included provisions for mutual defense, non-aggression, and extradition of refugees between Egypt and the Hittite Empire. Ramses even went so far as to forge a marriage alliance by offering his daughter to the Hittite king. The treaty's terms were commemorated in both Egyptian and Hittite inscriptions, reflecting the mutual respect between the two great powers. This agreement established a long-lasting peace between the Egyptians and the Hittites, and demonstrated Ramses' diplomatic savvy. It marked a shift in how nations interacted, with diplomacy playing a larger role in international relations than ever before. Ramses II's reign was also marked by an intense obsession with monumental construction projects. These architectural feats were not just practical. They were deeply symbolic, reinforcing his divine status and immortalizing his reign for future generations. Ramses undertook massive building projects throughout Egypt, particularly in Thebes, where he constructed vast temples dedicated to the gods, as well as his own glorification. Among the most notable of his constructions was the Ramesseum, a mortuary temple dedicated to himself. The temple complex, located near Luxor, is famous for its grandiose design, which included vast halls, statues, and beautiful reliefs that portrayed Ramses as a divine figure, emphasizing his military and religious might. Other monumental constructions included his many temples dedicated to the god Amun-Ra, and his extensive renovations of older temples, which were designed to reflect his divine role as Egypt's ruler. Perhaps the most famous and enduring of Ramses II's architectural feats are the Abu Simbel temples, located in southern Egypt, near the border with Nubia. These temples were carved into the mountainside and are a testament to Ramses' engineering genius and his desire to ensure his legacy would last for millennia. The temples, built to honor Ramses II and the gods Amun, Ra-Horakhti, and Ptah, are among the most recognizable monuments of ancient Egypt. The most impressive feature of the Abu Simbel temples is the colossal statues of Ramses II that stand at the entrance, each towering over 65 feet high. These statues are symbolic of the pharaoh's dominance and divine power, and they were designed to intimidate and awe any visitors. The temples themselves are exquisitely decorated with reliefs and inscriptions that depict Ramses' military victories and his divine connection to the gods. What makes Abu Simbel even more remarkable is the incredible effort taken to relocate the temples in the 1960s, when the construction of the Aswan High Dam threatened to submerge the site. This operation, which involved cutting the temples into large blocks and moving them to a higher location, is considered one of the greatest feats of modern archaeology and engineering. Ramses II's monumental legacy is further highlighted by the Colossus of Ramses II, a pair of massive statues that once stood at the entrance to his mortuary temple. These statues, each standing over 66 feet tall, were designed to project an image of power and grandeur. They depicted the king seated on his throne, his image larger than life to demonstrate his eternal authority. The statues were not only artistic masterpieces, but also had deep symbolic significance. They were meant to convey Ramses's divine right to rule and his everlasting presence, even after death. The grandeur of the statues and their scale reflected the king's status as not just a ruler of Egypt, but a god on earth. Today, the remnants of the statues, along with those at Abu Simbel, continue to be symbols of Ramses II's unparalleled legacy. Ramses II was deeply aware of the importance of religious ideology in cementing his authority as pharaoh. Throughout his reign, he sought to establish a connection with Egypt's gods, a strategy that would not only legitimize his rule, but also reinforce the notion that his leadership was divinely ordained. The portrayal of Ramses as a living god became a central theme in the art and inscriptions created during his reign. In many of his monuments, Ramses is depicted in ways that elevate him to the status of the gods. He is shown in divine poses, often in the company of gods, receiving their blessings, or appearing as an intermediary between the gods and his people. This association with gods such as Amun-Ra, Osiris, and Horus reinforced the idea that Ramses was not just a ruler but a divine figure chosen to maintain cosmic order on Earth. His divine depictions extended beyond his lifetime, as he often had himself portrayed in temples as an immortal god, his power everlasting. Upon his death, Ramses II's legacy did not fade into history. Instead, he was deified, and a cult was established around his name and figure. His deification was a testament to his extraordinary influence and the extent to which the Egyptians viewed him as a divine being. The cult of Ramses was formalized through temples dedicated to him, the continuation of offerings to his spirit, and the veneration of his statues and monuments. This posthumous cult helped solidify Ramses' place in Egyptian religion. It was not uncommon for pharaohs to be deified after their death, but Ramses' extraordinary achievements and long reign ensured that his cult was particularly powerful. His name was invoked in royal inscriptions for generations to come, and his statues and monuments continued to be revered throughout Egypt for centuries. Ramses's image as a godlike ruler permeated not only the religious spheres but also political ones, as successive rulers sought to align themselves with his memory and the divine authority he had represented. Ramses II was a prolific patron of Egypt's religious institutions. One of his greatest achievements was his vast contribution to the construction and renovation of temples dedicated to various gods, solidifying Egypt's religious landscape during his reign. Notably, he built numerous grand temples to honor gods such as Amun-Ra, the supreme deity of the Egyptian pantheon, as well as Ptah, Ra-Horakhti, and Osiris. The Ramesseum, Ramses's mortuary temple in Thebes, stands as one of his most enduring architectural legacies. Dedicated primarily to the worship of Amun-Ra, this temple also functioned as a site for the pharaoh's cult following. Here, grandiose inscriptions detailed Ramses's victories, his divine connections, and his status as Egypt's supreme ruler. The temple served both as a religious center and a lasting testament to his own godlike image. Ramses II's personal life was as grand and complex as his public life. He had many wives, and his family structure was intricate, with many children who played significant roles in the empire's politics and royal succession. It is believed that Ramses II had over 100 children, though records suggest that he had a large number of daughters as well as sons. His many wives and concubines were not just symbols of his personal wealth and power, but also instruments of political alliances. Ramses married several women from important Egyptian families and foreign princesses, ensuring that his dynasty was well connected throughout the ancient world. His children from these unions held various important positions, from military leaders to high-ranking officials in the royal court. Despite his many marriages, one of Ramses' most beloved wives was Queen Nefertari. Nefertari was not only an influential figure in Ramses' life, but also in the wider political and cultural sphere of Egypt. She was highly respected, and like her husband, often depicted as being close to the gods. Nefertari's tomb, one of the most magnificent in the Valley of the Queens, is a testament to her status and importance. The tomb's exquisite paintings and detailed inscriptions show her and Ramses in harmonious divine poses, highlighting her role as an essential figure in his reign. Queen Nefertari was not just a royal consort, but also a central figure in Ramses II's reign. She was his first and most cherished queen, and her influence on the Egyptian court and society was profound. Nefertari's tomb, discovered in 1904, is renowned for its stunning wall paintings that depict her in the company of gods and in scenes of divine worship. These depictions emphasize the queen's elevated status and her role as an intermediary between the gods and the pharaoh. Nefertari's tomb, with its vivid frescoes and hieroglyphs, represents an extraordinary moment in Egyptian art, reflecting the period's stylistic excellence. The queen's grave is often cited as one of the most beautiful tombs in the Valley of the Queens. Not only did Nefertari have a prominent role in her lifetime, but her memorialization underscores Ramses II's devotion to his most beloved queen. Ramses II's 67-year reign stands as one of the longest in Egyptian history. His accomplishments and leadership left a profound and lasting impact on Egyptian civilization. He is often remembered as the quintessential pharaoh, a figure of strength, grandeur, and divine kingship. Ramses II's legacy, epitomized by his military victories, building projects, and religious contributions, defined what it meant to be a pharaoh. Even centuries after his death, Ramses' name and image became synonymous with power and military prowess. Ancient Egyptians and later generations looked to Ramses as the standard by which all future pharaohs were measured. His name became a symbol of Egypt's grandeur, military might, and divine rule. Ramses II's reign left an indelible mark on Egyptian art and architecture. The monuments and temples he built continued to influence later generations of pharaohs. His use of colossal statues, intricate reliefs, and grandiose structures set the precedent for monumental architecture. The symbolic use of his own image in his buildings reinforced his divine status and demonstrated the power of art as a means of political and religious propaganda. His contributions to architecture and art became the gold standard for later Egyptian rulers, ensuring that his style and iconography continued to dominate Egyptian visual culture for centuries. Ramses II's legacy is also found in the portrayal of his image in literature, art, and modern media. His long reign and powerful persona made him one of the most iconic figures in the history of ancient Egypt. In modern times, Ramses has been the subject of countless books, films, and documentaries, reinforcing his image as one of Egypt's greatest rulers. His name continues to resonate today, a symbol of the grandeur, strength, and enduring legacy of ancient Egypt. Through his military victories, his monumental construction projects, and his religious influence, Ramses II ensured that his reign was not just a chapter in Egyptian history, but a lasting legacy that transcended his time. His impact on Egypt, and on the world, endures as one of the greatest legacies of antiquity. Ramses II, known as Ramses the Great, passed away around 1213 BCE, having reigned for an extraordinary 67 years. He was approximately 90 years old at the time of his death, a remarkably long life for an ancient ruler. By this point, Egypt was well established as a powerful and prosperous kingdom, and Ramses' reign had left a profound impact on the culture, military, and religious landscape of the nation. Ramses was buried in the Valley of the Kings, an elite necropolis located on the west bank of the Nile near Thebes. His tomb, designated KV7, was an impressive burial site, reflecting his grandeur and status as one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. The tomb itself was designed to honor his legacy, with intricate hieroglyphs, statues, and lavish decorations that celebrated his military conquests, divine rule, and eternal connection with the gods. Ramses II's mummy, discovered in 1881 in a secret royal cache at the Deir el-Bahari complex, provides crucial insight into his life and death. The discovery of his mummy revealed much about the health of this long-lived pharaoh. Though it is difficult to discern exact details, the evidence suggests that Ramses suffered from arthritis and other ailments in his later years, which may have contributed to his eventual death. The tomb of Ramses II itself, though looted in antiquity, remains a testament to his monumental stature. The KV7 tomb is considered one of the most significant in the Valley of the Kings, due to the scale of its decorations and the impressive layout of chambers. Though much of the tomb's contents were removed, it once housed a wealth of treasures, scrolls, and artwork that chronicled the achievements and religious significance of the pharaoh. The mummy of Ramses II, now housed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, continues to be an important archaeological find, providing critical information about his physical condition and the practices surrounding royal burials during the New Kingdom. Despite his death, Ramses II's legacy continued to reverberate through Egypt for centuries. His monumental statues and temples, particularly the massive figures at Abu Simbel, served as enduring symbols of his reign. These statues were seen not just as representations of Ramses's image, but as embodiments of his divine power. After his death, later pharaohs and rulers frequently looked to Ramses for inspiration, emulating his military successes and monumental building projects. Ramses II was revered as an exemplar of kingship. His reign set a high standard for those who followed, particularly in the areas of military strategy and royal propaganda. Many subsequent pharaohs sought to associate themselves with Ramses's legacy by copying his architectural styles, his self-depictions in temples, and his military campaigns. The cult of Ramses that grew after his death ensured that his name continued to be invoked in royal inscriptions and religious rites for centuries. Ramses II, known as Ramses the Great, was undeniably one of the most significant and accomplished pharaohs in Egyptian history. His reign of 67 years marked an era of military success, monumental architectural feats, and religious devotion. Through his military campaigns, particularly the Battle of Kadesh, Ramses solidified Egypt's dominance in the region and safeguarded its borders. His extensive building projects, such as the Grand Temples at Abu Simbel and his mortuary temple, the Ramesseum, not only marked an architectural zenith, but also immortalized his divine kingship for generations to come. Ramses II remains an enduring figure in history, not only as a ruler who left a lasting imprint on Egypt's military, political, and cultural landscape, but also as a symbol of strength, divine kingship, and immortality. His legacy, enshrined in his monuments, his military campaigns, and his influence on future generations, confirms his place as one of the greatest rulers of ancient Egypt. The grandeur of Ramses' life and reign continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and the public alike, ensuring that his name will remain synonymous with the greatness of ancient Egyptian civilization for millennia to come.